Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Madam. My name is Muhammad Asunizam bin Tajri. I will present about the introductions of accountability. Accountability is taking or being assigned responsibility for something that we have done, or maybe that something that we are supposed to do. In public administrations, accountability is the aspect of administrative responsibility through which officials are held answerable for general notions of democracy and morality as well as for specific legal mandates. Elected and appointed officials are working directly for the public, so they are required to meet expectations and remain accountable for the work that they are being paid to perform. So we look at the first scholarship here, which is the Aristotle. Aristotle viewed that the accountability as a state when an ordinary adult human acts voluntarily, in the sense that he has the right to be praised if the actions was good, or they will blame if the actions was bad. It resembles that he is responsible for that actions. The concept of accountability is an amorphous concept which can hardly can be defined in exact words. However, accountability occurs where there is a partnership where an individual or body and that individual or body's performance of tasks or functions is subject to the supervision, guidance or order of another to provide informations or justifications for the actions. The second is Vitalis Nacros stated that a clear directed definitions on accountability. It is defined as the process for regulating public policy, financial management and administrative decisions by the public agencies and civil servants operating within the public administrations and accountable to the public directly or through parliament. The third one is Stein. On the other hand, refers to accountability and transparency as two key aspects of government oversight to ensure ethical commitments. Both the characteristics are included in the core values which define an individual or organization's personality. Accountability and transparency practice have been implemented in most government agencies and are expected to be upheld. But there is still a shadowed area where those implications are not maintained. Every public administrator is liable for any form of wrongdoing or breach of public confidence. So the last is we look at Imam Hassan al-Basri stated that accountability activities are not contradictory to Islamic teachings. The accountability relationship in Islam is viewed as not only fulfilling the legal requirement but also fulfilling the relationship with God. The findings clearly indicate that a formal accountability mechanism is strongly encouraged in Islam, and financial reporting is viewed as essential in enhancing the accountability of Islamic religious organizations. Therefore, any organizations dealing with community funds, they must demonstrate its financial accountability formally, for example through the written reports. Public or community trust in the organizations cannot replace the accountability mechanism. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okey, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Puan Surina, I am Mohammed Aiman Shah bin Abdul Ghafur Janshaw. I hope that you are in good health. And today I will resume the presentation on accountability, whereby I will be presenting on the issues of accountability in public governance or public administration. Basically, accountability, as we know, is one of the main or essential core values of ethical behavior, especially ethical practices in public administration. But based on our findings, we have identified that actually accountability are the main some of the main issues that arose in public administration, whereby the quality of accountability itself, it's been questioned. Supposedly it should be the major core value of ethical behavior in public administration, but surprisingly accountability is something that is questionable, especially on the quality of accountability practices in public administration. Let me start off by giving an overall a definition according to Cambridge Dictionary. Cambridge Dictionary define define issue as a subject or problem that people are thinking and talking about, such as environmental, ethical, and personal matters. Basically, from the given definition, we can draw a conclusion that it is true that accountability, which is one of the branches of ethics, are indeed becoming a matter of conversation among the public, especially in the era of modern governance and new public management. So basically, that's the overall view which I've provided on what actually is the condition of accountability in our state, and we have identified 4 main issues regarding to accountability. So let me begin with the first one, which is political intervention in public governance. As we know, our country practices the Westminster system, and we also practices the monarch constitutional and democratic parliamentary system, whereby the politicians who are amongst the ruling party who won the election, they will form the government of the day. So basically, talking in Malaysian context, we have currently the government of the day is Perikatan Nasional, and basically the ministers or the members of the cabinet of course consist of members from the Perikatan Nasional Alliance, but political intervention here means for the political entities who are not in the government. Okay, let's take a look. Let me give you an analogy whereby, let's say he or she is a member of the Supreme Council but not elected as the minister. So basically, because that person has a post, we need to provide, or the government of the day need to provide that particular person with some benefits in the government. So that's whereby they appoint these political entities, which I can say towards some other positions or some other posting in the government, such as GLCs, mainly secondary or subsidiary companies, or any form of ownership by the government. They are appointed mainly as the head or the president or the chairman. So this is what I am saying on political intervention, whereby this type of people, they do not hold the relevant government offices and does not possess any form of legal authorities to make an official government decision. But basically, they seek and shape and control, but they do have and exercise the ability to shape and control the decision-making behavior of those office holders in the government who does possess the form of legal authority making in the relevant decisions of public policy. Let me just give you a rough example. We can see last time during Barisan Nasional, especially when they formed the government, or let's say Pakatan Harapan, it's something recent. Pakatan Harapan, there's a lot of government political intervention in the government decisions. I've read one newspaper article recently whereby it is discovered that Lim Guan Eng, actually who is the Secretary General of the Democratic Action Party and the former Finance Minister, have actually written to our former Attorney General Tommy Thomas to to release all charges for a few cases. So basically, these are some example of political intervention in the government. They do not have actually the power or the ability to influence a public decision, but basically they can do because they have the power in the political party. Therefore, the practice of this culture does not promote the quality of accountability, as important decisions are not made within the proper manner with proper consideration, but only to satisfy political agenda. So another example that I can give you, whereby some important government postings, as I mentioned earlier, such as government linked companies, GLC, are appointed among politicians, and we have discussed on Malaysia, whereby we practice Westminster administration style. So the ruling party makes up the majority of the parliament and has a big influence on the government decisions. Let me take another example, is the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1 MDB case, whereby we know that's a clear indication how political elements influence investments consideration, and basically it gives a big impact. It can topple off the government. We see that during the 14th general election, whereby this case is the main agenda or main campaign purpose of Pakatan Harapan, and Tun Mahathir even joined the alliance because of this case. So we can see that political intervention in public sector, especially the governments, plays a very big impact. It's about public trust, whereby supposedly the person elected and the party or the ruling government of the day should not mix together political agenda and government agenda, but they should properly and thoroughly serve the public with the main purpose is to satisfy public needs. So that's on the first point. The second point will be a lack of integrity among leaders and civil servants. Basically, this is what we call the essential and the main values which needs to be implemented in ethical practices, but not only in civil sector, but throughout a human's life. A person needs to have integrity. A person needs to be reliable, needs to be trust. She has to have an integritical value in themselves in order to make sure that the person is basically you can trust that particular person. Leadership is also important in shaping organizational culture of local society. Leaders who do not set a good example, such as disobeying the law or giving instructions by law, may have an impact of integrity of employee of an organization. Let's take a recent example which we've discovered earlier, whereby the deputy health minister and also one of the state assemblymen of Perak, Haji Razman Zakaria, was found guilty for disobeying the movement control order, and they resembles integritical value, whereby they take the charge for the offense, and they paid their fine, whereby this is basically for me a good example. In Malaysia, we do not have such of these characters or such of these good exemplary manners, or some of these examples which are good to be mentioned. But in the European countries, they are very ethical and they are very integratical, whereby if something goes wrong, the minister will be answerable, they will be liable. I've read a newspaper article whereby a member of parliament of the Great Britain resigned from his post for claiming extra £80 in his claim. When they found out, he automatically resigned because he takes charge about his integritical values. In addition, the system that is chaotic, ambiguous, and out of date structures with final overlaps, as well as poor communication in this regard, would also compromise integrity. Integrity, as I've mentioned, is a superior quality that should exist within a good governance to preserve the value of accountability. In other words, if a leader is not accountable by willing to sell the country's secret or cover up wrongdoings of a guilty person for bribes, it is possible for the country to be destructed due to money and greed. So, to prevent this scenario to occur with an accountable governance is that everyone in the civil servants must have a sincere and trustworthy intention in carrying out the task. They must return to the original purpose and pledge when they accept the responsibility to be a part of the government member, which is the main purpose of the government, is to serve the public. Government also seeks to strengthen its accountability by providing protection to those who are sharing information through the view of a whistleblower. Under the Protection Act 2010, it's Act 711. This allows anybody from the public or the government itself to give information about any wrongdoings or ethical white-collar crimes and etc. We have one former member of the parliament, Rafizi Ramli. He is one of the whistleblower who often disclose information about the wrongdoings in parliament. So basically, that's the second point on issues of accountability. Now we will proceed to the third point, which is poor transparency in public administration. Accountability and transparency are two important components of government oversight that guarantee moral commitment. Both of these elements are remembered for the top guiding principle that despite the character of an individual or an organization, as accountability, it is a part of managerial obligation through which authority are held liable for general thoughts and votes based system and ethical quality, just as for explicit legitimate orders, while transparency on the other hand implies that people have an inborn option to know reality with regards to open issues, and the legislature's guarantees that its privilege is met. So basically, in Malaysia, we do not have this such of transparency in the government, especially. I'm observing and I find out that the government of the day today, which is Perikatan Nasional, they do disclose so much information. It is been made public. This is a good example whereby the people know what the government is doing. The weakness of the previous government, whereby they hide a lot of things. When they hide a lot of things, the public tends to build no trust for the government. So it's better. Some informations are crucial, are private and confidential, should be kept within the particular manner. But as this is my own opinion, but I think informations that are not that secret or not that crucial can be disclosed to the public, so that public is aware and public knows what the governments are doing. So when they know, they will tend to build a perception that the government is doing their job. Laws like the Official Secret Act, the Printing Press and Publications Act, and the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission Act (MCMC) offers the chance to inappropriately hide data and bad news. We can see, let's take an example of the case or the scandal of Malaysian International Shipping Company was disclosed. There was a case whereby over 109 million ringgit was swindled, and they have other white-collar crimes such as allegations of abuse of power, corruptions, false payments, and etc. This information, using the acts provided, they disclosed the information, and it was they hide the information, and it was disclosed by the third party later, and it was confirmed. So this is one of the weakness of if we have poor transparency. And the final one is issues. The final issues of accountability is lack of religious beliefs and practices among civil servants. This is something close to me, whereby I think an ethical person is a person that practice their religions thoroughly, because religion actually prevents us from doing sins. It is one of the core influence that shapes an ethical and moral conduct of a person. To ensure that a person is accountable, especially serving public needs, civil servant must have good and strong religious beliefs and faiths that basically promotes good character and conduct. Basically, we can draw a conclusion: if the person is pious, they are obeying their religion, we can trust that person, because a person who fears God, they won't, or fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they won't tend to do mistakes, they won't tend to do crime, they will prevent themselves. So according to Sheikh Mahmud Salud, he states that the religion also guides the good, the truth, and the beauty, and promotes peace and tranquility for the whole human race. So, if religious beliefs are adapted within authority, we can solve various issues related to ethical behavior and moral conduct. So, basically, we claim, or it is stated in the constitution that Malaysia is an Islamic state, but our practices do not reflect the stand of the government that any form of serving public need is an act of worship, ibadah. We claim that we are Islamic state, but we do not practice this culture. According to Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahumullah, serving the public is an act of worship, is ibadah. His book As-Siyasah Ash-Shar'iyyah stated that religious emphasize that the government needs to conduct obligation with the best manner by being reliable and accountable not only to the people but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are accountable, if you take charge towards your deeds towards God, you will do the same among human beings. So that's all for my presentation, madam. I hope it is clear enough, and I apologize for any shortcomings, and I hope that you will have a pleasant life towards. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today, me, Muhammad Firdaus bin Muhammad Yusuf, I'm going to presenting the implication of accountability. So first of all, the implication of accountability is the political interference in public administration. As we all know, public administration are supposed to be neutral and not siding with any of the political parties. Imagine having a political party interferes in the planning and organizing of the public sector. It will greatly affect the whole operating of the administration. For instance, in Guan a politician and a former Malaysian finance minister is charged on accusation of bribery. However, the charge against him later has been dropped for no solid reasons and this matter has raised many questions, especially from the civilian. Politics and public administration should never be mixed up and overlap. Next, there will be so many impacts when there is a lack of integrity and accountability. As we all know, integrity is one of the fundamental cores that every company must adopt in their business practices, be it a public or private company. It is because by looking at the definition of integrity itself, it means the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. If there is integrity, the chance of unethical behavior such as corruption and misconduct to others will be little to none. When there is no integrity, all kinds of unlawful could be happening, such as white-collar crime, such as misconduct, abuse of power, authority, and corruption, which may result in bad image of public administration. The people can no longer trust in administration if it lacks the value of integrity. Integrity must always be aligned with accountability in order to sustain public trust. After that, regarding the transparency issue, when the transparency is not existent, it will result in the increasing amount of corruption. When the data is disclosed or unrevealed, people do not know what's going on around the system. The officials might abuse the power by using the people's money for their own sake without telling the people the truth. When corruption happens, it signifies the downfall of public administration, and thus it will lead to the betrayal of the people's trust on public administration. This is because transparency is people's right, especially in public administration. People have freedom and privilege to know the information of the steps and measures taken by different components of the system. Whenever the information is disclosed, people will start being suspicious to the current administration and having the speculation that something must be off if the detail is not revealed to the public. Finally, the issue of lacking religious belief and practices among the public servant in Malaysia. In Malaysia, it is safe to say that the majority of public servants are people with religious faith. People with religious faith will have the principle that being accountable is very important. In the Noble Al-Quran, it mentioned about the accountability of human, as all Muslims should obey all commandments and keep away from all he is forbidden to do and worship God alone with no partners. Every day, a human man will be counted, and regardless whether it is a small or big one. The equation is simple here. When people practice their religion belief, there will be no accountability issue. When people do not practice their religion belief, there will be accountability issue. Even though our religion encourages people to do no corruption, people still blinded by money and choose to stray further from the God. In order to tackle this issue, people need to start practicing based on their belief and not just in theory. When people follow everything that their religion teaches, there will be no corruption or lacking integrity issue, as our religion only taught people how to do good deeds such as being moral, humble, honest, and empathy. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Akif Zakwan bin Amir. I'm going to present about the suggestion on the accountability in public administration. I'm going to present 2 points, and the other 2 points will be presented by my partner. Okay, the first point is the government need to reflect on effectiveness. Every institution of the public bodies need to be inspected their performance. Why? Because the government need to ensure every public bodies did not repeat the same mistake, did not doing failures over and over again. By doing mistakes or misconduct over and over again, it reduces the government's effectiveness and efficiency. As we all know, every government, one of their goals is to be effective and efficient in providing public service. So, when they fail to achieve effective and efficient, this will affect their accountability as a government, their accountability as a civil servant for the people. So one of the ways that the government can do is they improve Pemandu. What is Pemandu? Pemandu is Malaysia's Performance Management and Delivery Unit. Pemandu can provide better solution for public body to become effective and efficient. So the government need to uphold the roles of Pemandu in ensuring every public body meets the government goals and accountability. Every public servant need to be accountable with their jobs. So Pemandu is one of the bodies to ensure every public bodies meets effective and efficient. For example, in Malaysia, we have 887 units of integrity. But, however, it's still the corruption statistic in our country is still increased year by year. So, by increasing effective and efficient, the government will reduce costs, reduce time, reduce any waste resources, and achieve effective and efficient by improving and reflecting the effectiveness of every body of government. My second point is the coordination in the execution of the public servants need to be improved. If there has been a breach of integrity, the administrator cannot simply continue to deny it. The code of conduct needs to be upheld and coordinated by every person. What does it mean? It means that the citizens or the people also plays an important role in this particular responsibility. The people also responsibility to check and balance the administrator. For example, nowadays, the people can access the information of the government on the internet. There are various of information. So, when the people detect any breach of duty, any misconduct, any corruption that is done by the government, they need to report it to integrity units such as MACC, Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission, and then the Ombudsman Services. They need to report. So the government can check, can investigate any wrongdoings, any corruption occurs. This duty is not only comes from the top to down, top to bottom, but it also needs bottom up. The upper level management does not only sit to the lower level to do their job, but the lower level management, the lower level of public servants need to check and balance the upper level to ensure that they are doing their jobs. There are my 2 points, which is first one, the reflection on the effectiveness of the public bodies. The government needs to ensure every public bodies are doing their job. And then the second one, the public coordination in the execution of public servants need to be improved, and it's come from the public. The citizen need to check the administrator whether they are doing their jobs or not. That's all from me. Thank you.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zafir Hazrin Muhammad Zaki. So, today I would like to present about suggestions to improve accountability values. So, I present 2 points. The first one, establishing code of ethics, and second one is transparency. So, the effort that could be taken into consideration is establishing code of ethics to regulate the ethical conduct of public officials. The rules and guidelines to be recognized of prime importance. Most agree that a government code of ethics should be include prohibitions against severe and clear cases of unethical conduct, such as theft, fraud, treason, bribery, and self-dealing. This is very important to maintain a positive image of government among citizens. The importance of establishing the code of ethics is to develop a good attitude among the public servant. For example, trust, integrity, responsibility, excellence, loyalty, commitment, dedication, diligence, and professionalism. So, if all officer and staff members in the government have all that kind of attitude, they will perform their duties with fairness, sincerity, consideration, and courtesy at all times. It will make the citizen be more confident in the government and the service that the government offers. The government needs to strive to achieve and uphold the higher ethical standards because if we want to compete successfully in the future and be one of the best government in the world. So, next point is transparent. So, the public administration need to be transparent like European states. European states with the best control of corruption are those countries which score highest of transparency. Public procurement and government expenditure need to be exposed. The government should enhance the roles Ministry of Communication and Multimedia as mediator to provide information in a variation such as infographics and promotes to the social media. E-procurement also need to be improved as the criteria in selecting is still vague. According to the Lee or Kwan 2008, the procurement needs to be innovated in order to improve transparency. For example, the policy in selecting criteria of the tender project that will be selected need to be exposed and clear. This is to avoid cronyism and despotism occur in giving public projects. The administrator need to show their work in order to gain the public trust. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.